I'll never leave the pictures till the lights come on. I'm a punk. Be a punk. I take drugs to get drunk.
Right on.
So what's the plan? The plan is we're
Uh-huh.
going to review punk movies whenever we want to. We're not going to put a date on it.
We don't want to commit, really, do we?
No commitment. Nothing might come out of this anyway. So,
well, it makes sense to review movies at a time when we've nearly been in lockdown for nearly 2 months. I think this is week 7.
We're almost about to finish lockdown.
I don't think it's going to finish. I think they're going to open up a few businesses. We still can't. I can't go to the pub. That's the main thing. That's how I define the lockdown. The lockdown finishes when I can go to the pub, and until that point happens, I'm going to be sitting at home sinking cans with my record player.
What record do you have now on the record player?
I did lie to you. It's not your band. It's just I got it from Lulu's. Took a while to turn up. But essentially, I've had lots of time to watch a movie, so it's good that we're doing movie reviews.
I think so, and I think not that many people have been reviewing punk movies that are in the punk scene.
I haven't really seen a format for it. I don't spend much time on social media, so there could be. The reason that a lot of people may not review them is a lot of them aren't very good.
I would say 90% of them are bad.
See, when you said let's review movies, I was like, sick. Kung Fu Panda 3, I just watched it. I want to bulldog a little bit because Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 were awesome. I like watching kids' movies when I'm hungover. I'm hungover a lot. And then you're like, oh, no, punk movies. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't really like many of them. I don't.
So the first movie we're going to review is...
Would you want to say it at the same time?
Suburbia. What year was it released?
83.
Oh, did you actually check the date?
YouTube just set it right across there. I'm looking at it now, 83. And then I'm like, 83, that was a good year for punk rock. Like, why wasn't there better bands playing on this movie? And I was like, because it's set in America and all the better bands.
So the difference between you and me is that you like English punk and I like American punk.
I'm open to but generally speaking, no, I have more time for English punk than American punk. But that'll become apparent pretty quickly.
You relate yourself with Waddy from The Exploited, right?
He nearly bit me up once, actually. I grabbed him at the Thirsty Dog in Auckland. I was like, "Oh, Waddy, yeah. You know your song, Sexy, Sex and Violence? Well, it kind of sounds like a New Zealand accent that you're saying, sexy fellas. So can you just sing sexy fellas and designate it to me and my friend James over there?" And then the promoter grabbed me out of the bar, and Waddy was like, fucking oh. Big fan of a few of the early singles.
Troops of Tomorrow is great.
That's a Vibrators cover.
Is it?
Yeah. I didn't know that, but that's a Vibrators song. The drummer wrote it. So we talk about this movie.
The opening scene.
Yeah. You see it, comes in, and like you're sitting there and you're on the edge of your seat, you know? Like, wait, hang on. Like this. You're like, ugh! And it's brutal. It's fucking brutal. Like this Doberman's there. The stranger entrusted her with the infant, and then it gets mauled. The fucking it mauls the shit out of it, and you're like, "Whoa, this is intense! This movie's gonna get amazing! It's incredible!" And then it just that's the most exciting thing that happens for about an hour.
I thought those people were gonna be part of the movie, but the little baby that gets mauled does not look real at all.
For you, you have had sexual intercourse with a human woman, and made one of these.
Oh, we made a baby. Yes. Yeah, I do have a baby.
You know what? There's a Doberman there. Maybe it's time my baby learned to fend for itself. How do you feel as a parent?
I did think it was weird because they take the kid out of the car and they're holding the baby. But then when they go and talk on the phone, they just leave the baby there in the middle of the night with fucking dogs, angry dogs just around. It looks so shit that I was just like, it's a shit scene.
And that for me was one of the favorite ones, but it wasn't realistic is what you're saying. Yeah,
it's not a documentary, but I think that's the difference between. It's not a documentary, no. That's the difference between.
Let's not focus too much on our own aesthetics, though.
Good one.
There's a movie at hand.
The Alcoholic Mom.
Okay. Were you a fan of her? You don't drink.
I don't drink. No.
I'd rather you were my dad than she was my mum, I guess, because this is when it becomes apparent that they attempted to make this movie genuine by hiring punks to play punks, and they didn't actually hire any actors. And that's when you notice that nobody can fucking act. Oh, yeah, what? Oh, Mom, I didn't drink it, Mom. Like, that wasn't convincing. Like, I mean, even if he didn't, like...
The only thing that I wrote in my notes for that was that I did find funny that the mom threw a bottle at the kid.
Not good parenting, nah.
Terrible parenting.
And then he goes to a punk show, and somebody drugs him. And I think that's weird, because in this day and age, like, nobody gives me free drugs, really, unless they're my friend. You don't really get free drugs.
Which, by the way, terrible drug dealer, because he's high all the time. And he's giving away free drugs. I just think it's not a good business move, you know?
He hasn't done his economics, no. No, but then there's some more unacceptable, naughty behavior at that show. And at that point, I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, who's making this movie? They're painting punks pretty bad. His name's Skinner, actually, in the movie.
Oh, sorry. Let's call him Skinner then. Sorry.
While we're speaking about him, his braces are all out of whack.
Too fat.
They're too wide, man. You know, if you're going to be an always skinny 10 mil thick max, and they are fucking, you're looking at 15, 20 mil. I wasn't into that scene, and I wasn't into his braces. It was all dubious.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, nobody really stops their behavior, and at that point in time, you're like, I don't like punks. I was watching it, and I'm like, I don't like punks. And I was like, wait, hang on. And I had to look at myself in the mirror, like, no, I am a punk. What's going on? Like, I don't do that. Why are these people doing that? This movie's painting us pretty bad thus far. Things, and I'm just like,
there's a scene, I don't know if you remember, there's a scene where Flea, when they go into a shop and they're buying some booze or something, and the guy has like a shorter foot.
They mimic his limp.
And they mimic his limp, and I'm like, these guys are the worst of the shittiest people in the world.
Yeah, I'm making fun of him for his limp. I mean, I did cringe at that a lot. And what made it worse, well, not worse, that was probably the worst part of it. What was slightly less worse, but then they tipped the slushy into the pickled eggs and shook them up. And I remember just looking at me like, I love pickled eggs. You're a piece of shit. They're quite hard to come by in the southern hemisphere, a pickled egg. I love a pickled egg. And he fucks it up with his blue sushi. You know what? Fuck you, Flea, and fuck you, the red spicy boys, chili guys. Your band sucks.
But pickled eggs to me looks fucking disgusting.
Well, it's a brine. I mean, I made them in this American restaurant I worked at in Hamburg, and we made some. It's a brine. It's like a. Do you want some swamp eggs, Carlos? Does that sound appealing to you? But then they're driving along, and I reckon this is one of the best quotes of the scene. And Jack's got like this young idiot in the car, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna come live at the TR house, dude." You know, but like, look, I'm acting better than him. Like, the acting is so shit. I've seen better acting in Shortland Street, and that's atrocious. So he's driving along, yeah. And he's like, hand me that bottle. You know, like, there's no enthusiasm. He's like, oh, yeah. And he biffs out the sunroof at a bus, and he says, I hate buses. And I laughed, and I was like, that was a cool quote. The film makes no sense. I just like that. I like that scene. I like that quote. It was good.
I think it's a good time to plug our sponsors.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Okay, they haven't agreed to it yet, but Shinsu soy sauce, chili and garlic infused, pretty good. And I mean, look at that price, $1.70, pretty cheap. They also do garlic infused chili sauce. You like that?
So I don't eat garlic.
What are you, Hare Krishna? I don't know. You don't eat garlic. I didn't know that. You don't drink beers. You don't eat garlic. What do you do? Do you just?
I just watch bad punk movies. I think the next best quote this is like the 27th minute, right? You know, and they wake up. They're all at the TR house, and then they hear this, and this dude wakes up, and he's like, "Oh, my dogs!" And they run out. My name's not Flea, it's Razzle. That's a quote from the film, actually. Later on, they run out, and then there's the two rednecks that play a bit of a reoccurring. They become characters in it. So Skinner is like, "What the hell are you dressed up for? Where's the war?" And then he says, "Up your ass." And I quite enjoyed that scene. It made me laugh. The one thing that I found interesting, because when we were talking about doing this whatever garbage we're going to put out, and which I think it's going to be, maybe Lance is going to watch it. Shout out to Lance this week. And you said that TSOL suck.
I don't like them, no.
So I wrote in my notes, TSOL in caps, I wrote as well, is sick.
Okay,
So-
contrasting view there. So I think I've got this in my notes here, actually, the 46th minute. Look, I've written stuff down. I was sober enough to do that. They go to this TSOL concert, right? Yeah. And then Skinner, again, with the wide braces, gets into a little bit of biff in the mosh pit. You know, you can all relate to that. I think, you know, you're at a gig, push shove turns into a fight. Except if maybe you're from Melbourne, because people just stand there protecting their tote bags and they don't want you to bump them because their pint costs $13.70. Thanks, the tote. You know, so there's not much push and shove going on. Anyway, and then he makes the executive decision, which is probably one of the most mature moments. He's like, I've caused some trouble, I better leave. So he leaves. And then a car full of jocks follow him. And then the car pulls up next to him. And they're like, hey, you know, what does TR stand for? Totally ridiculous. And that moment is the most relatable thing for me in the whole film, because being a punk in New Zealand, that's what happens when you're like, I want to be a punk. They hand you this form. They're like, do you like getting yelled at from people in cars? And you're like, fuck yeah. And they're like, sign here. That's just going to happen forever. Do I tell them to fuck off or do I run? And it tells them to fuck off. And so they start beating him up. And then for no reason, this is where the film makes no sense. The cavalry comes and they're all fighting and fucking there's biff. And then for even less reason, once this guy breaks it up with the guards, they get off my property, they all go back to the show. The jocks go there too. They're like, look, we're outnumbered. Let's go back with there's more people. You wouldn't do that. You'd go and get your mates and then you bring your mates to the show and you all have a punch up. So they all go back. And it makes no sense. What even makes less sense, Carlos, is that you shouldn't go to TSOL concert in the first place because they're shit.
What I don't understand, I've been at a show before that someone gets stabbed. Actually, I think 7 people got stabbed that night. Not by jocks, by skinheads. But anyway.
But naughty. How wide were their braces?
Skinny.
Sorry.
Real ones. What I don't understand is, so the security guard gets in. So he pushes Skinner because I think he saw that he was going to get stabbed. He gets stabbed in the guts. The TSOL singer sees someone like dying on the ground. And he just goes to everybody like, cut it, the show's over, whatever. Nobody helps the security guard and he just dies on the ground.
No, okay. If Suburbia was a football team, it'd probably be the one professional New Zealand football team that can't play for shit.
You didn't like the scene that I think it's the best scene in the whole movie that you found quite weird, which is when there's slow motion walking down the street all together as a like a group.
Well, they attempted to have some sort of ambient music, and they chose a slap bass going on, and there's this really bizarre group of people hobbling along. There's a child. Okay, well, I mean, this movie is about powerful scenes because, as we've established, there's no storyline. And I'll tell you what, for me, there were 2 main scenes. There was the scene at the start where the dog mauls the baby, and then it just goes downhill for fucking ages, and nothing happens. There's terrible acting, and unenthusiastic people stand around doing fuck all, except that one little beautiful moment where she says, well, guess what, chicken butt? Momentarily funny. They're too sorry. Anyway, and then the next scene is at the funeral, which for some reason, which might be a bit morbid, I thought was hilarious when the skinhead punches the dad at his own daughter's funeral. And I'm like, wow, that's really breaking some social norms. You know, if you want to act zany and crazy, hey, well, you know, if you describe your crazy friend, oh, you know, mate, crazy John, what did he do? Oh, he pulled his pants down in public. You're like, no, this guy punched him out at his own daughter's funeral. You're like,
I think I'm more on their side because the dad molested the girl.
Yeah, the dad's a piece of shit. The dad, I back it up. The dad needed to be punched.
The dad needed a good punch up.
Outside his perspective. I've been drinking, by the way, for quite a few years. Yeah, they look like the bad guys, but they're morally conscious there, and the dad deserves to be punched. But it's a good scene. It's wild, and it encompasses that wild aspect of a dog mauling a baby. Is fucking this group of angry teenagers punching a molesting piece of shit at a funeral. And I think those are the 2 main scenes. And
who the fuck uses dope as a word? You know what I mean?
Well,
it's not a cool word to use.
Well, maybe it was slang at the time. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't ever think dope was a slang. Like, come on now.
Well, that's eyebrow move. Look, so I don't know, but you're right. But it's kind of like one of those things that your uncle would say. Your uncool uncle. You know?
I think so. I'm not the coolest person on earth.
That was a swift coffee swing. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, after that death thing, are you doing shots?
Yeah, it's a copper knob. It's half vodka, half ginger wine. You should try it. I invented it. It's good.
See, I think if I drank any alcohol, would be Bailey's.
But you're vegan. You can't drink milk.
Yeah, I know, but
was that a joke? Because it was two things that you wouldn't drink. Being a straight edger. Just when he calls them Flea and he's like, my name's Razzle, and they grab all the grass, all the fake grass from that lawn.
yes,
and see, this is where I really relate, because in suburban areas in New Zealand, we'd go there and would fuck with people's houses. You know, you'd smash letterboxes, you'd graffiti fences, and you'd steal garden gnomes, and they steal all the grass. And I think that's particularly funny. They roll it all up and they take it somewhere and they put it somewhere else and they sit on it. And I dig that. It was cool.
I was like, why the fuck are they taking grass? Are they going to put it outside in their suburban shitty house? But then they actually go to like some shitty ass mall that they probably jumped the fence, and then they just went to watch TV. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
The little kid kind of annoyed me because I knew from the start, okay, this little kid's going to be a sad story later on in the movie.
How did you know that?
Because why the fuck would you take a kid that's like 6 years? How old was this kid? Not 6. He would have been like 12 or something.
Okay. But you're that intuitive. Okay.
It's not funny because you obviously don't get that reference, and therefore you ruin the joke.
Okay. Look, yeah. I'm willing to bear the responsibility of ruining your joke.
So that band, I had to wait till the credits. Did you see who it was?
Was it the Vandals?
Yeah, they suck.
Agreed. Actually, every band in this movie sucked. Everyone who tried to act in this movie sucked. The story writer couldn't write a story. The whole film is shit except the scene with the dog and the baby, and the guy punching the dad at a funeral, if you ask me. And when he says, up your ass and I hate buses. Those were my 4 main highlights. This is going to be a difficult thing for us, Carlos, if we continue to review punk films, because punk films aren't very good. I don't agree with the way they depicted punks. I don't know. Maybe it's different from the Northern Hemisphere. I mean, in Rotorua, where I grew up.
How many times have you said that? 3, I think.
3. Is it all right? Is it too much? Is 3 too much?
No, I think you can probably say 2 more times.
Okay. Well, mainly, yeah, Margaret Thatcher destroyed the economy.
Margaret Thatcher's from the UK.
Hey, that's where punk's from, actually. I looked it up the other day. Yeah, punk's from the UK.
Yeah, well, whatever. Tomatoes.
Yeah, I like tomatoes. I thought he was gainfully employed just shooting dogs.
No.
When you said, let's review this film, I really just dug deep and I was like, oh, fuck, I have to see it again. I tried one night to watch it and I got bored halfway through. I had a wank and went to sleep. I did. It is kind of genuine, though. I will give it that, because I looked into it a bit, and not only did they hire punks to play punks, as opposed to actors, but that specific area was legitimately like cleared out by the local council to make way for a highway to go to LAX. Maybe I need to rip out all my sticker pokes now that they're popular. Do you reckon? Have you got any? Are they cool?
I don't have any sticker pokes now.
Are you going to get one now that they're popular? You do live in Fitzroy.
No, I have tote bags, so I don't need stick and pokes.
I need another tote bag. Has Sistema got tote bags?
How many arms do you have?
2.
Okay, cool. I get it. I got confused because you didn't say Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I was trying to be funny by calling them something else, but you destroyed my joke by acting really like nonchalant and then pointing out my crappy joke. Yeah.
Yeah. That's always good. It's always funny, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. So what are you saying? The cops are lazy and ineffective?
Well, cops were lazy and infected. ACAB 13212.
Whoop, whoop. I get a lot of kicks out of trolling people on Google reviews and also on YouTube comments because I don't have much going on in my life. We've been in lockdown for like 2 months, and I blame it on that. But really, I'd have no hobbies or interests. So I did go through 660 comments on YouTube of this movie because this movie's free, right, on YouTube, where we both watch it. I assume you watch it on YouTube, yeah?
I did, yeah.
All right. There's someone called Suffolk Gaelic. Apologies if I mispronounced it. He said, "Let me read it out like an actor from this movie. This was the movie for hardcore punks in Yugoslavia. Thanks for the upload." So he claims that it was a big influence, and I kind of get that because in parts of the world that were pretty oppressed, I guess they had a little influence outside, and that makes it harder to get involved in the punk scene. And I mean, I didn't live in an oppressive place, but I lived in an obscure place. So you take whatever influences you can get. And this interested me. I was like, yeah, maybe. So I texted my friend Pepper. You might know him. He used to run Black Goat. A Polish guy. He was a punk in the 80s. And I was like, hey, did Polish punks find this movie inspiring? And he says, yeah, we saw it. But no, not really. We used to think it was a big Hollywood boo-ha. Which is pretty funny because, I mean, like, for you and me or anyone else that looks at it, it's a B-grade film with a low budget and shit acting.
I'd say more like a C-grade film than B. It's terrible. I wouldn't say it's influential. Fuck that. It's a terrible movie.
No, it's shit. The other good comment I got was from Stephen Murphy. Anyway, I don't know. He says, "How many of these idiots are dead today?" A controversial comment, gets a little heated from there. And then Sony Padella says, "Stephen Murphy, you are dumb." No grammar here. See, this is shit that gets me off. People arguing on the internet. I love it. It's just great. But this is where it gets really good because somebody else pipes in. Someone called Leo Alex says at Stephen Murphy, "So name some movies you like?" ? Now, Stephen Murphy takes it upon himself and starts naming movies he likes. Superbad, Dangerous Liaisons, The Life of Brian, not a bad movie. Go Dogma, War of the Worlds, in brackets, yeah, Tom Cruise. The Haunting, in brackets, original, 28 Days, Dead Man Walking, etc. It goes on for a while. And then the funniest part about this is then Leo Alex says at Stephen Murphy's, "All those movies suck." This argument brought me more enjoyment than the whole of that movie. This made me laugh in 1 minute. Suburbia made me laugh twice. So I reckon if you've got to watch this movie, scroll down. There's a lot of comments. Find Stephen Murphy, read that, have a giggle, and then watch something else because Suburbia is not a very good movie. What do you want to? What have you got from this movie?
My last comment is overall this movie sucks, which it does because it's not fun.
Yeah, I have to agree. It paints punks badly. Hey, a pack of Wingus McDinguses. But I think the movie's not interesting to watch, and that's my main qualm because life to me is very boring. And while I'm existing, I want to be amused, and this movie didn't amuse me. Yeah, it's called a Mohawk Skull. Yeah, you're sounding like an old dad right now. Yeah.
1 out of 5. How many do you give it?
Okay, get the first one and then shave the mohawk off. So if you've got 1 Mohawk Skull out of 5, give it just the 1, shave the mohawk off, and just leave like a sphere. Making stir fries out of these delicious sauces. Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's my opinion. It is 1 out of 5 at best. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the music. I didn't enjoy the depiction they played of punks. I didn't enjoy it as a film outside of punk rock. What do you reckon? How many of these skulls are you giving it? Escorbuto skull.
I think just one skull. I don't think I can shave the Escorbuto hair because it's beautiful, but I'll just give it one Escorbuto skull.
He's a punk. I'll never leave the pictures